What is going on, everyone? This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and welcome to the 59th episode of Xbox Chaturdays, and the first ever episode of Xbox Chaturdays on a Friday. Today, I am stoked to be joined by one of the coolest dudes in gaming and Marvel's very own shirtless Spider-Man, Greg Miller of Kind of Funny.
Now, Miles, I just take photos of shirtless Spider-Man, all right? Okay. Nobody knows who's under the mask. Okay. Nobody knows who's under the mask for shirtless Spider-Man. I'm just happy to take photos and help him out when he needs it.
I appreciate you giving the man the publicity he deserves, all right?
He's a hero. He's the hero we need and we deserve, so I just want to be there for him.
You know, some people say Superman is America's superhero, but I think it's shirtless Spider-Man.
Right? I got to go with you. You know what I mean? He represents all of us. He's got a very obtainable shape and what should honestly be probably the definition of strength. And, you know, a good-looking body.
You may not like it, but that is what peak performance looks like.
Exactly, you know.
Greg, how are you doing on this fine Friday, my man?
I am excellent, Miles. This week flew by, as they often do, but I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm excited. This is my first evening show. Normally, we're doing this early Saturday morning, so I got to sleep in. I'm refreshed. I'm wide awake. I'm ready to do this.
Well, I appreciate you bending your schedule for me. You hit me up. You said, can I do it? Like, I'd love to. When do you record? Like Saturdays. I'm like, oh, well, I don't do that anymore. I got a kid. So if you want me, I can help you, but we got to work around schedule. And you were like, yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Totally respect the dad life. Totally respect the family life. And I really appreciate you taking some time. We were talking about
this. It's a pleasure.
This pre-show. But yeah, for me, a few years ago, I was just listening to Kind of Funny in the car on my way to work. So for me to have you sitting here with me on this show, it really means a lot. And I'm excited to dive into it today.
Dude, that's one of the best. I mean, there's so many great parts of the job, but one of the best parts of the job that I never anticipated when I started all this 15 years ago is that I would be there, and be part of people's journey like yourself. So the fact that you saw and heard what we were doing, like, that'd be fun to do. And, in some way chase that down or that it showed you was an actual path. That's awesome. I mean, that's the greatest compliment anybody can pay us. So congratulations on making it.
Yeah, I've hung out with Snowbike Mike, Paris Lily, Blessing, a lot of other Kind of Funny folks.
I'm so sorry. I'm glad you got the B team out of the way before you worked out all the kinks before you brought me on.
Oh man, we have a great show. We're going to be talking about Elden Ring's massive sales. We are going to be talking about Capcom giving free upgrades to games, very un-Capcom-like. We're going to be talking about Xbox continuing to struggle in Japan. We're going to be talking about the biggest games we're stoked to play for the rest of 2022 and so much more. But before we get into all of that, I'm sure everyone here already knows, but for the folks that don't, let everyone know who you are, where they can find you, and most importantly, why you love gaming.
Sure. My name's Greg Miller. I work for a company called Kind of Funny Games. You can find us on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and podcast services around the globe. I've been doing this for 15 years. I got hired to start at IGN and talk about the PSP, and I did, and slowly became a face over there and had a bunch of different shows and podcasts. And then, 7 years ago now, we spun out and started Kind of Funny in 2015. And, it started as 4 best friends in a spare bedroom, and now we're a team of 11 full-time people, all somewhat working out of their bedrooms thanks to the pandemic. And then, of course, a whole slew of, different freelancers that are hosts, that are editors, that are all these different things across the world that are making fun content for our best friends on the internet. And so, we talk about movies, we talk about comics, we talk mainly about games. And so there's a bunch of different channels you can do that. And, why I love games, man, I wish I could tell you it's ubiquitous with me at this point in my life. Like, I was a very small child who loved Ghostbusters, and my mom made the mistake of walking me to the real Ghostbusters aisle by taking me down the video game aisle. And I remember seeing the No Ghost logo, stopping, pressing my finger to the glass and saying, "What is that?" And my mom says, "That's a video game." And she explained what a video game was, and I was like, I want that for my birthday. And so Uncle Mike got me the Sega Master System. Mom and Dad got me Ghostbusters on the Sega Master System, and the rest was history. And it's my choice of entertainment. Like, I will unless I am exhausted and brain dead, I will always pick I want to play a video game over watch anything else, because I love being part of the story. I enjoy occasionally watching something, seeing a story unfold in a movie or TV show, but to be behind the sticks, to actually be making something happen, as games continue. I'm downloading Triangle Strategy right now to make the choices and have influence over where the story goes. Like, that's what I love about games. That's how I get wrapped up in them.
Yeah, stuff like that is beautiful to hear. What you and the team at Kind of Funny has built is obviously a huge inspiration for a lot of people. And I always love hearing people's kind of foray into gaming, because there's,
For sure.
no matter who I talk to, it's always a different scenario, and there's always a different reason for why someone connects with it, why it becomes not only like a huge part of their hobbies and their free time, but a huge part of their lives, everything that they do. So again, appreciate that story. We're gonna play a little game that I play with all my guests here to get a
Oh, okay.
kind of an understanding of Greg Miller's tastes in video games. What I want you to do first
sure.
and foremost,
Okay.
pick your 3 favorite video games and or franchises, the ones that are most important to Greg Miller.
Oh, okay. Well, so there's multiple ways to take it. You said franchises, which I love you tossing out, because that's a great way of like getting around your game of the year or game of all time and getting to it. So I'll start with franchises. And if I'm talking about franchises I love, I start with Metal Gear. I always tell this story. So if you're an old Kind of Funny fan, I'm sorry you have to hear it again. But if you're a new, maybe just Xbox Chaturday fan who doesn't know who I am, I was in high school. I was the video game kid my entire life. And I remember in high school, you leave your group of friends from junior high, you go to a different high school. At a homecoming dance, I got reunited with some of my friends and we were catching up. And one of them was like, "You're still playing video games?" And I remember saying, not in so many words, because I definitely wasn't as eloquent, "Yes, but like I'm starting." I was like, "Yeah, I'm playing stuff, but I was playing N64 stuff. I was doing, it was that time." And I was like, I was buying a lot of licensed stuff because that's how I was raised. And I was like, I don't know, man. It's not sticking. Maybe I'm not finding what I want out of it. And it wasn't too long after that I finally got a PS1. And when I got the PS1, the first thing, I did that weekend with it is my best friend Poe came over and we went to Blockbuster and we rented Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, and Metal Gear Solid. And Army Men didn't stay in the PS1 long, but Metal Gear I put in and it was like, boom. Like I was like, this is what I want. This is this is story. This rivals movies, and I'm playing it. I'm interacting with it. I'm making the story, and so I fell in love with Kojima there long before I knew who Hideo Kojima was. Right, and for the longest time, I would tell you Metal Gear Solid was my favorite game of all time, and then lo and behold, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker came around, and as a big advocate of handheld gaming and Metal Gear, that was a game that I still stand by as one of my favorite games of all time. And it was because it was so perfect for that platform, so perfect for what it was trying to achieve. Yeah, clearly it wasn't, this HD powerhouse, whatever, but it was very clearly made for that device. It was made for, hey, what the PSP can do. We're going to put these different things in there. We're going to do, and it was the blueprint for what would become Metal Gear Solid 5, obviously, in terms of game systems and yada, yada, yada. But so that's I'll put that franchise in there. If I don't, that'll get a slot, right? Then in terms of right now, what my favorite game of all time is, I still stand by God of War 2018. I again got hired 15 years ago to talk about PlayStation. And that means that I came in, if you're doing the math, right before God of War 2 came. And God of War 1, God of War 2, God of War 3, God of War Ascension. Come on. Like I hated Kratos. Yes, I'll tell you the action's great and the combos are cool. And it's, wow, I'm tearing this dude's head off. That seems like a bit much. Like I can sit here be as objective as you can with a video game opinion, tell you why that game's great and how those games are cool, but they didn't strike the chord for me, right? They came off way too much like, yeah, we're fighting, you're tearing thing, yeah. I'm not that guy. I don't have that much testosterone in me. Calliope, as Kratos would just yell everything, right? And so the PSP versions of the God of War game, from Ready at Dawn, I enjoyed those more. I thought they did something a little bit more interesting with story and the limitations of the platform. But even then, I'm not sitting there I hated Kratos. So when the first trailer started dropping for 2018, like Kratos reaches up to Atreus' back, but doesn't touch him and pulls back. It was like, okay. And then to get that game, find that story, see how they evolved the character that I thought was one-dimensional, then the layers and the systems and the, different worlds they built on there, the storytelling they did, like, and the fact that it's, the one camera shot, like from a technical level, like God of War 2018, I think is a pretty perfect video game in terms of what I look for a game, what I would tell you is a masterpiece when I talk about a game. So that's on the list. And then for a third slot, a lot of different ways to go. You know what I mean? So many different ways to go. And I feel like I should, I'm not doing it. I feel like I should put a superhero thing on there because that's so definitively me, right? So like Insomniac Spider-Man or Infamous from Sucker Punch or something like that. But I'm actually going to go a different way. And like, I love all sorts of weird puzzle games. Right now, I am obsessed with Puzzle Quest 3. It's free to play on your iOS device or your mobile device or Steam. I highly recommend it. But I want to put in Luminous instead. Luminous is a franchise. I loved Luminous on PSP. I love Luminous Electronic Symphony on Vita. And then I've played it on Xbox. I played it on PlayStation. You name it, I've played a Luminous no matter where it is. But for me, that is such a fun puzzle game that I like more than Tetris personally. Like I feel Tetris gets to a point of annoyance or relying on, okay, well, I'm screwed unless I get the one line block. And I know there's T-spins and a million other things that the pro players would do. Luminous, I feel like you're never super out of the game because you can maneuver those blocks and put them in a specific way to match all four if you're not familiar with it. So that's what I would put there. So there you go. God of War, Metal Gear, and Luminous.
All right. That is a beautiful list of important, innovative, and influential video games and franchises. So now here's where things get interesting, Greg. What I want you to do with these 3 games or franchises, I want you to pick one that is gone from the face of the earth. It does not exist any longer. And then I want you to pick another one that still exists, but everybody in the world except for you gets to play it. What does that list look like?
Okay, wait. So eliminate one that's never existed. I'm going to go goodbye to Luminous, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. So now you're saying the game still exists for the rest of the world, but I've never played it? Like my memory gets wiped of it? You
don't get to play it. It's not necessarily that your memory's wiped. It still exists in the world.
Okay, so I have the memory of playing it. I just don't get to ever replay it again.
Yes.
Oh man, you painted yourself into a corner. I don't even care. I never replay games. Get out of here. Whatever. I don't care. Choose either one of them. I'd probably go. Oof. I guess I'd probably go. Oh man, I guess it is tough because I can see like God of War. I want to replay obviously before God of War 2. Peace Walker. My guys, Snowbike Mike and Blessing and Barrett are doing a full playthrough of all the Metal Gear games, and they're coming up on Peace Walker. I'm going to jump in with them. All right, you know what? I would eliminate God of War so I could play Peace Walker again whenever I wanted to.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks for being a good sport. Yeah, it's an interesting topic that started as an Xbox kind of party chat game we would play late at night. It's hard enough picking your 3 favorite games or franchises,
for sure,
and then trying to imagine a world where they don't exist or you don't get to play them. So appreciate you.
I mean, that's the thing, and I like that I've been around so long that even in your own chat, Mr. Joanne Dark says, Greg, what happened to Patapon? I still love Patapon. Nothing against Patapon. But I mean, like, Patapon is a game that, as much as I adore, right? Like, I don't go back to. As I just said, I don't replay games often. But Luminous, if I own Luminous, that's usually on everything, right? Like, that's on my Switch. I make sure Luminous is on that. So if I'm on a plane and it is that, oh man, 10 minutes till we land, what do I want to do? I'll screw around in Luminous a bit.
Going to give a quick shout out to everyone joining us live. If this is your first time tuning in, Xbox Chaturdays is normally live on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time. If you're listening,
I really screwed up your naming convention. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fun. What is it? Widow Wednesdays on a Tuesday?
There you go. You know how it is. You just make it up. It's a video. It's a show. Who cares?
Exactly. You just roll. Time is just a construct, my man.
Exactly. You know it.
But yeah, if you're listening on audio services, appreciate that as well. I'm going to get to a couple super chats before we dive into our first main topic here. Mr. Joanna Dark says hello to the GOAT, Miles Dompier, and of course, the other GOAT, Greg Miller. Longtime fan since the Beyond days. Also, congratulations on becoming a dad.
Thank you so much. Yeah, what is it? 4 days from now, my son Benjamin will turn 5 months old, which is crazy.
It's already been 5 months. It seems
I know,
like
it flies by.
Oh my God. It's not even my baby and it feels like forever ago.
It's the weirdest thing because Jen and I will talk about it, my wife Jen, where it's like, it's in that same breath where it feels like it's only been 5 months and then it's like, oh my God, it's already been 5. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's been both 2 seconds and we blinked and it happened and he's been here forever.
That's kind of been the vibe of the last few years, I feel like an eternity, but also a blink of an eye.
It has been 2020 forever. We are in 2020 part 2. No, 3, right?
Yeah. The trilogy. Hopefully they end it there. PVT Pile says, have a great show, fellas. Great to see Greggy pushing P with the wonderful Miles on Xbox. Chatter Fridays.
Always Chatter Fridays. You know that. Chatter Friday. See, there he goes. It rolls off the tongue.
It just rolls off the tongue. All right, Greg, first big topic here. And it's it's been the topic and will be the topic, I think, for a little while. And that is,
you can't get away from it.
the juggernaut, Elden Ring. Whether you want to hear about it or not, I'm sure there is a huge percentage of people online that are really tired of seeing all of the clips and talk of Elden Ring. You can't avoid it. And we're going to be talking about it because we don't have a lot of hard details about the sales figures for Elden Ring, but we've got some snippets from a few markets that start to paint a picture of how massive this launch actually is. When it comes to Japan, we've gotten information that physical sales on PlayStation alone, PS4 and PS5, 300,000 units. The biggest From Software launch in Japan ever. When we look at UK, again, no hard figures, but this is the biggest launch outside of Call of Duty and FIFA since Red Dead Redemption 2. Bigger than Cyberpunk 2077, which had so much marketing energy and so much hype behind it. So From Software has managed to come out with this quote-unquote niche RPG and deliver something that pretty much everyone is talking about. And again, I'm guilty of being a From Software stan. You know, people
as long as you admit it,
people throw me in that camp. Whatever, you know, they've earned their legacy. They've earned the respect.
for sure.
All
For
right,
sure.
I don't give that out casually. All right, they have hard fought and battled their way into my heart, and I love them for it. So again, even as someone going into this with a ton of expectations, a ton of hype, quite frankly, I was not expecting it to be this big, Greg. I really genuinely wasn't. I threw around figures of, you know, maybe 4 to 5 million copies in the first week and 10 million in the first year. And based on these figures and based on Steam Spy, which suggests over 5 million people have played Elden Ring on Steam alone,
Yeah.
we're looking at maybe over 10 million in the first week. So, Greg, at this point, given what we know, do you have any guesstimates for what this game might finish its first year at?
No, I would like. Come on, at IGN, we used to play this game where when we still got, or IGN still got the NPD numbers, like everybody would go put them on a whiteboard, their guesses, and I always lost because I'm terrible at this game. But it's what you're saying, right? Is like you could easily clear 10 million copies in your first week. Like you talk about rare air, and I like how you brought up, you know, the fact, of course, like this quote unquote niche game, like because that's how it's been forever, right? Souls games. Again, I'm old, and I can go back to 2009 when Demon Souls came out, and I was leading the PlayStation team, and I needed somebody to review that. And what did we do at IGN? We freelanced it to a freelancer named Sam Bishop, because none of us wanted to play this game. What is this game? Popped in it for 2 seconds, like this is weird and clunky, and nobody wants this. And I remember he turned back in the review, and I think he gave it a 9 something, maybe a flat 9, and it was like a double take of like what? And you read the review, and then we played a little bit more of it at IGN. We played around. They're like, oh, okay. And it's like, then it was Dark Souls. Then it was Dark Souls. You know, then Dark Souls is just a franchise. It's Bloodborne. It's all this thing, and it's this growing hype. And so to get to this Elden Ring and talk about like hitting at the right time with the right audience, with the right backing. I think that's the biggest thing about this, where you talk about like these numbers and how it happened and why it could happen and where it can, what's the actual ceiling for it, right? Is it going to be 15 million? Is it going to be 20 million? What's it going to be? Because it is the snowball catapulting down the hill right now, where for years it was, oh man, you didn't play Bloodborne, then you're really going to like, or I'm sorry, you didn't play Demon Souls. Wait, this new Dark Souls game's coming. Oh, you didn't play Dark Souls, Bloodborne, this thing. You didn't play Bloodborne, you didn't play Dark Souls 3, you didn't play any of those. Think of it right now. If you're a video game fan who hadn't played any of that, chances are you listen to multiple podcasts where at least one person on there says that they're a From Software stan, that they love it, that they think they make the best stuff, that this is why people think it's too hard, but it's really this, it's really that. And so to get here, where we are in 2022, where we are still in the pandemic, video games are still bigger than ever, and you're putting it out in the first part of the year. You're putting it out right away when, inevitably, all year long, you talk about what game of the year is, you talk about game of the years, people get to December, like, I got to play everything, my backlog's so huge, they give up, they're like, all right, I didn't get to X, Y, and Z. Game of the year comes out, and nobody cares about what happened last 365 days. They're only focused on the first 300. We all want brand new games as soon as we get to January. So you get to January, and I'm playing fast and loose with time, but February, right? And guess what? Here it is, Elden Ring. You don't have your other outside of Horizon. Sorry, you got Breath of the Wild again. You don't have your AAA huge game that you've been waiting for all year long. Here it is, Elden Ring George R.R. Martin's involved with it. It's Souls. It's everywhere. It is the conversation right now. And then you have the most jaded video game reviewers, or at least people in the industry, going, this might be the best game of all time. This might be the best video game I've ever played. Of course, everyone's going to snatch that up because you have to know. You have to get it and you have to try it and you have to see if it's for you even, right? Because it can still not be for you. There are so many stands who reviewed it and we're like 10 out of 10. And then so many other people like me that have played it, I'm like, it's a Souls game and I wish you guys well. I'm getting off the train already. I'll talk to you later. Enjoy. I'm going back to Horizon. I'm playing Puzzle Quest. I'll see you.
Yeah, it is fascinating because when we look at stuff like Dark Souls 3, which previously was kind of the biggest peak launch, and that was the culmination of this cult trilogy. Dark Souls, whether you liked it or not, had a passionate, rabid community of fans, and that peaked at 130-ish thousand on Steam. And then we see Elden Ring come out of the gate and get 900,000, one of the highest PC launches of all time. Again, as I'm, playing through this game, as I'm working on my review, articulating the things that I love about it, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, is this only because I like Dark Souls? Is this really just Dark Souls 4 or whatever? Am I just, over exaggerating the good of this? And that's always the conversation you have when you're reviewing something. And then to put it out and then to see unanimously that this is one of the highest reviewed games of all time. I think that alone makes it a hard title to ignore, even if you've tried Dark Souls, even if you've tried Bloodborne, even if you've tried Sekiro and they haven't been for you. I think a lot of the FOMO, quite frankly, is just impossible to ignore because, like you said, everyone is talking about this game. Even people who hate Dark Souls, even people who fell off the series, who said they would never play this. I've had people DMing me who were like, I don't care about Elden Ring. Like, bro, I'm 50 hours in. This is a masterpiece. What on earth did they do here? And I'm like, yeah, I told you. I've been telling you.
Well, I mean, it's just such a brilliant move to make it open world because it was before. All right, well, what is the barrier to entry? And everybody always says they're hard. The games are hard. I don't buy that. That was never my thing with it. And I beat Bloodborne. We did a whole thing with it, right? And what I appreciated about Bloodborne and, the ones that have come before that I always tinker with them and then end up putting them down, right? It was always that I don't think the gameplay is hard. It's attack, it's dodge, it's learn patterns. It's video games, right? But what it always is that you might not be doing enough damage. And I don't know if it's the Division player in me, the DC Universe Online player, the MMO of just knowing DPS and like, okay, cool, I'm not doing enough damage here. So clearly I need to go back and grind. And I think, I wonder if, we were as connected to Twitter and had a million video game podcasts and everything, if you would look back at an old RPG like Final Fantasy, and would you describe that as hard when you get to somebody where it's like, well, I don't have enough items and I'm not powered up enough, so I'm going to go grind off in the, the wilds to come back and do this thing. That's what I appreciate about the gameplay of it and understand about the gameplay of it. And what's brilliant about Elden Ring, right, is that, okay, cool, you've gotten to a boss, you found a boss, and you aren't powerful enough for it. Cool. Walk away, go do something else, run in the other direction. You're still grinding, you're getting stronger, and you can come back whenever you want to, but you're no longer set to, okay, cool, I'm going to go, like in Bloodborne, you'll have to excuse me, I'm rusty on the terminology. I remember when I got to the end-ish or the back quarter of Bloodborne, I was like, I want this to go faster. And I'm clearly not doing enough damage. So I did what is a cheat exploit, but I did it anyway, right? Of loading into those dungeons off of the main area, where there was one where you could literally just walk in and something got killed over there and it gave you a bunch of the currency to go back out. So I kept doing that to make myself stronger because I wanted it to go faster. It was that thing of like, okay, cool, I'm stronger, I feel better about it. I did that because I didn't want to grind the areas I was in the game or where the limited path I could take that from where I was, or go back to something super easy and do it that way. This is the thing of, cool, you need to grind, you need to be stronger, you need more currency in Elden Ring. So instead of going west, go east, and then do whatever you need to. And chances are you're going to completely forget about the boss. You're going to get distracted. You're going to get into 15 more things. You come back 30 hours later and beat that person, no problem.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Elden Ring, because as much as I like Dark Souls, as much as I like Bloodborne, you get to certain points where you kind of have to go through this area if you want to progress, if you want to get better items or better gear. But Elden Ring really lets you explore at your leisure. And what's beautiful about its open world is every time you explore, you're rewarded for it. No matter where you go or what you do, you're going to find a cool new item. You're going to find a cool new boss. You're going to find a cool new summon. And those things are going to help you in the fight. So that's kind of been my general rule, because the game, I would say, is probably, in my opinion, the second hardest. I would still say Sekiro is the hardest thing that they've done. And I would say this is right below it, because there are bosses that, even for me, even as someone who's played them all, beat them all,
even as an expert,
yeah, even as a pro, I'm dying 20 times to a boss. I'm like, yo, maybe I need to like go somewhere else, because this dude probably shouldn't be killing me in a single hit. And then, like you said, I'll go off, venture off into some hellscape that I've never seen. And every few hours, I'm seeing something that I've never even imagined in a video game. And then I go back to that boss and just crush it. And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. So it's got this beautiful balance of, you're just an average schmuck in this world, and you don't start off strong. You start off really weak, and then you kind of build and fulfill that power fantasy. And I think that's the beauty of From Software, is they've always done that. It's never been unfair. It's just you have to learn when you should be fighting that dragon you first see at the lake. And I will tell you, you shouldn't fight it the first time you see it at the lake.
Well, I forget who it was that put out that tweet recently, but it went viral immediately of like, I've only been playing Elden Ring for 10 minutes and I'm 100% sure I should not be here. And it was like this horrible hellscape that was like clearly not meant for whatever level he was.
Yeah, you literally open a chest in like the first 20, 30 minutes of the game that takes you to this end game hellscape. And you're like, okay, I should not be here. I'm going to leave as soon as I can. And thankfully you can fast travel anywhere, because if that was Dark Souls, ooh, you just have to fight your way out of that swamp. Oops, you messed up. You went down here. Good luck. Good luck getting out. Might as well make a new character, because you're gone.
You're stuck. This is the end of it. And I think, always the true test of how popular a game is. While we were live, I got this press release. Man spends $20,000 to play Elden Ring with Camgirl. A user on CamSoda, an adult entertainment webcam site, wanted some companionship while he played the campaign mode on Elden Ring to completion, which can last 40-ish hours, which is totally underselling it. So he paid adult cam model on CamSoda $20,160 to join him on his adventure. He entered a private chat with the model, and they traversed the lands between together. So there you go. That's how popular it is.
That's beautiful. That's wholesome. Sharing that experience with someone,
Someone you care about, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what the co-op of Elden Ring is all about.
Exactly. Even if you have to pay for it, there's nothing better than kind of getting out there in the lands between. I know Andy Cortez and Snowbike Mike have been all about it, but
they sure have. Blessing too. Blessing's obsessed as well.
I saw his 180. He was kind of iffy.
He gave it a 4 out of 5. Yeah, but
I feel
like in this Elden Ring discourse, that
4 out of 5.
Down.
What the?
Get out of here! What are you talking about? Not a perfect 5. Get out of here!
So how deep did you get? It sounds like you've already bounced.
Yeah, well, it's like my opinions on it aren't even worth bringing up, right? Because as I'm sure you can smell, the leaves are changing color. It's review season out here. There's a million video games to review. And so when Elden Ring codes arrived, I was in between Martha is Dead and Puzzle Quest 3 reviews. And so I filed those, but now I'm on to redacted and redacted reviews. And so I played an hour and a half of Elden Ring the day we got it, in between my Martha is Dead review and my Puzzle Quest 3 review. And it was just to be like, all right, cool. Is this going to immediately hook me? Is this going to make me into the Souls fanboy everybody else is or whatever? And the hour and a half didn't. Again, I don't dislike these games. I don't think these are bad games by any stretch of the imagination. They're just not Greg games. Like, I want the story. I want the cinematic experience. I want to know what my motivations are. I want like all these different things that immediately jumping in there and being told I'm maidenless and all this stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. I got a horse right away. That's neat. And I rode off and, beat up on some stuff and, lost some souls and came back and got them or whatever it is. I need to give it a fair shake, which means I need to get back to it. But right now it'd be foolish to do it because I'm on 2 other reviews that I'm working on a deadline for. So it's like that constant part of our job where if I don't review the game, it's very hard for me to get back to it. I'm lamenting a million other things. I'm upset that I didn't get no longer Project. I didn't get Triangle Strategy for review because it's like, well, when am I going to find time to play this 30-hour game with all the other things I'm trying to do for actual deadlines?
Yeah, and Elden Ring, as people are discovering, is huge. It was one of those games where I was playing it, and I kept getting to a point where I thought, okay, I'm at the end. I'm about to see the end. And then the map would zoom out. And I'm like, okay, there's more. All right. And then I would play for another 20-ish hours. And then the map would zoom out again. And I'm like, oh my God. And then you realize that
It keeps going.
you can go underground, and a large section of the overworld map is not duplicated, but underground as well. So there's humongous sections under the earth. And you're like, how big is this game? So my main character is probably 105 hours in, and I've been to almost all of the area, all the secret side areas. But
Wow.
like you said, 105 hours in, I don't know what the story is. Like, I love the gameplay. I love the world. I have a vague idea of what's happening, but NPCs just turn into boulders, and I'm like, okay, cool.
All right,
What's
see
up?
you later.
There's some giant fingers in this cave. All right, sick. Like, let's go. And that's why
Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, that's why I cherish people like VaatiVidya who spend
Oh my God,
the
there's
hours and
lore
hours
videos.
just breaking down the lore. Because once you understand it, it's amazing, and the story is gripping and detailed. But you don't really get that from just a single playthrough. You really don't. You really have to go through, read all the item descriptions, start piecing things together, and that is the fascinating part about the community aspect of it. Is the fans kind of fill in the lore.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I think that's what so many people love about it, right? Like, Timur Hussein from GameSpot and contributor on Kind of Funny adores these games. And so when I was doing my Bloodborne playthrough on stream as a part on content, he would always be there and talking about this or talking about that. And Andy would inevitably come in like a moth to flame and say stuff. And then Tam would expand on it and yada, yada, yada. And it was a thing of like, where are you getting this? I got a voice out the window that said one thing, and you guys know, where she was born and what she likes to eat. And like, oh, well, you watch the video, you do the thing, you piece this together. But I'm like, that is a really cool thing that I have absolutely no interest in doing. Like, I want my hour and a half, and I'm not at all, I'm just, these are personal preferences, right? I'm not talking about saying Elden Ring is bad at all. I understand why it's a masterpiece and everybody loves it. But for me, after an hour and a half and putting it down, my first thought was, man, I can't wait to go back to Horizon. Like, I want to platinum Horizon. I played Horizon for your review. I beat it. I did a bunch of side stuff, but not everything. Put it down and move to the next review. So when I do have that moment of free time, I'm going back to that, because that's the kind of open world RPG I want to be in, where I know the characters, the story. I'm inundated with cutscenes and information, and it is more about, I like that combat more and that presentation more, and that I think that world's more beautiful than what it is. And that's always been the thing about From Games, is that they are doing the gothic, monstrous, whatever, and I get that, and that's just not my scene. That's not what I want to be doing.
Yeah, this is like an open world survival horror game, and you bring up an interesting point with Horizon. Those are like two conflicting open world games. I see a lot of people online comparing Horizon to Elden Ring, and again, unfortunately, yes, the timing of Horizon again is unfortunate, considering they can't. They got Breath of the Wild the first time, and now Elden Ring, two of the most talked about open world games probably of all time, right after their launch. But Horizon, like you said, super focused on the story, super focused on the narrative, having this nice, confined, tight experience that tells you a cohesive story. Elden Ring says, here's a hellscape, good luck, Godspeed, here's a 5-minute tutorial, everything else, there's some faint glowing light that will vaguely point you in the right direction.
And
And then the rest is up to you, Greg. That's it. That's all you get.
And I totally get, like, I would be a fool not to see the appeal of that. Because I am Fallout 3, you exit the vault, and that feeling of you can go anywhere. You can do whatever you want. But it is that thing of, Fallout 3, exiting the vault, I've already gotten X amount of hours under my belt. I understand my place in the world and why I was in the vault, and I come out of it and I have a loose interpretation of what I'm trying to do with the game, right? Find my father. And that going in there and getting those conversations and choosing it, all that stuff, like, I like that kind of storytelling where, again, I'm choosing who I talk to. Sometimes I'm choosing what I say. It's going that way and escalating the story. I'm such a story person for games that the way Elden Ring presents its story, which obviously is there, just isn't for me in the digestible format I want out of my entertainment.
Yeah, and I absolutely respect that. That's something, again, when people tell me they like narrative heavy games, I don't usually point to From Software, because that's
for sure
obviously not what they're known for. And a lot of the lore, like you said, most of my understanding of the lore of Dark Souls 3 came from watching like 5 hours of lore videos on YouTube. And I get that not everyone cares to do that, and that's absolutely fine.
And I get why, and more importantly, I get why people do want to do that. And again, to our point of like why it's so big right now is that for so many people, Elden Ring is their first chance to be part of the conversation. There's a marked difference between right now, Elden Ring's been out for, a week or whatever, and you are able to sit there and trade theories and did you find that, blah, 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 versus when I came to Bloodborne and it was, oh, don't go that way. You're going to find that thing. Go right. If you're really sure, if you want that, everybody knew exactly what to do, where to go. They knew the lore. And like, that's great for some people and not for others. And I think if you'd heard and seen that and played all these games after the fact, to be in that experience, to be listening to your favorite podcasters, especially for a game so big with such a quick embargo, to listen to people still discovering stuff you might have discovered, that goes so far.
Yeah, it was honestly a fascinating experience being part of the review process for a From Software game, because
I guess this was your first time, right?
There's no guides. Like, From Software
what was that
games
like?
are historically cryptic
like
as hell, and like I remember DMing a couple people who were playing. I'm like, have you figured this out? Have you figured out how the hell to get into the capital? And they're like, no, dude, I've spent 6 hours like roaming the map trying to figure out. I'm like, okay, I'll go this way, you go that way. Let's see what we can happen. And then we'd come back a few hours later and be like, all right, I think I figured it out. And having that moment, like you touched on, being part of that, being part of figuring out all of the little nuggets is amazing, because
And that was the thing, right? People like you that were reviewing, I knew there was like Discord groups for reviewers that were going around that were like, it harkens back to being on the playground and having an uncle that, works at Nintendo. And did anybody figure out the fatality for this, that, and like, there's so many cool things that is such a part of video games.
And this, again, From Software's always been known for having subtle, cryptic things. And then you take the average size of their games and blow it up tenfold, and they still manage to fill the game with more cryptic things. It's going to be a game like Breath of the Wild, where I think people are uncovering secrets and
for
new,
years.
Exactly. And that's that's why Breath of the Wild still 5 years later is something you constantly see new gameplay clips for, because somebody figures something out and you're like, it's been 5 years and somebody just figured this out with thousands and thousands of hours. So that's the beauty of a really good kind of captivating open world.
100%. Yeah.
All right, great. We are going to shift gears here, and we're going to talk a little bit about Capcom, because in some other pretty rad news, Capcom announced that they are giving out upgrades for Resident Evil 2, 3, and 7 for Xbox Series X and S and PS5 owners. As Capcom's historically known for remastering and reselling anything and everything, I particularly thought this was pretty cool. So this is going to add ray tracing. This is going to increase the frame rate. This is going to add 3D audio. And for players on PlayStation, this will add DualSense support as well. So, Greg, does this do anything for you? With how stacked 2022 is looking, is there any world where you care enough to go back and revisit any of these Resident Evil games?
Anytime soon? No. One day, maybe. Like, I loved Resident Evil 2 Remake. I thought that was such a great job, because it was that thing of, growing up, on top of being the video game guy, I was the zombie guy. Zombies are my favorite horror genre. I watch them all the time, and I love horror. Me and my wife love horror. And so when I remember Resident Evil popped off and I had that PlayStation 1, and I remember, I think I tried to jump into Resident Evil 2 right away based on a friend's recommendation, and I just could not get over the tank controls. And so it put me off Resident Evil for so long. I think I didn't really get through until Code Veronica on my PS2. And even then is like such a different experience, where it wasn't, just zombies anymore, even though Resident Evil really has never been just zombies. Anyways, I digress. Resident Evil 2 Remake was what I always wanted Resident Evil 2 to be. So I had so much fun. And again, talking about cumbersome game design and quality of life, the stuff they did for Resident Evil 2 to go through and make it a better game, a more streamlined game, a more player-friendly game, I really appreciate it. So for sure, them adding that stuff in there does make me think, man, yeah, around Halloween time, that'd be a great one to run through, to do another thing. And I had glanced at the platinum trophy for it. I didn't get serious about it. But I glanced at it. Maybe I don't want to do it. Maybe that'd be something that bring me back that way, because it's always the thing of like, does this do anything for me? No. And as well as I do, Miles, right? The job is play the next thing, play the next thing, play the next thing. There's even if there isn't a AAA thing you've been waiting for, there's a new game that you could talk about, because maybe it's going to be great, and it's going to be something you evangelize, or maybe it's going to be something you need to tell your audience to stay away from. Like, you're always moving forward. So even though this might not do something for me, I know how big Resident Evil is. I know how much people want bang for their buck with their product. Like I know how much $70 costs when you're talking about Resident Evil 7, right? Or maybe it was a $60 title, but it was on PS5, so I don't remember. I know how much that costs, and I know how much that means, and I know how much we want to and applaud these publishers for going back and making their games better. So the fact they're taking advantage of is great, and I think it's a great look forward for what Resident Evil games will be doing, hopefully out of the box in the future.
Yeah, because we are in this interesting time and place where consoles are getting treated with PC respect. Because for a long period of time, we just had to accept that the console version came out, it was what it was, and it would never get enhanced ever. They would sell you a remaster years later. Capcom especially was really guilty of doing some really not inspired remasters for a stretch of time. And so for now to have Capcom go back and add meaningful upgrades to these titles, that's huge. And it's nice to have a library that continues to grow and evolve, and it's not necessarily the one-time console purchase. And it's nice that things are intersecting in that way, and it's nice that Capcom is caring about Resident Evil franchise and is consistently growing it with every single release and consistently making sure that you have a way to go back and re-experience these games in a amazing way. Resident Evil 2, like you said, that remake, it felt like what I imagined it was playing it for the very first time.
What you think you remember it being is how that game felt.
Yeah, and that's such a rare, cool thing because, as a kid and as we grow and age, we get more jaded. Our imagination starts to wane. We've been grizzled by reality.
The pressures of the world
crashing down, the noise and chaos surrounding us. But as a kid, you look at something like that and you fill in all the gaps and all the missing pieces.
Remember all the 8-bit games, 16 games you'd play where I'm talking about story. There's no story in the actual thing, right? But you read the instruction manual and there's a couple paragraphs in there that you're able to parse through what the real story is and then go through. And that's in your head. Oh my God, you're crying over these characters. And, they had 2 little lines of dialogue that popped up.
Oh yeah, it's something really amazing. So outside of Resident Evil, now that this is becoming more of a trend, are there any games that you think need to get that sort of upgrade on Series X or PS5 that don't have it right now?
Oh my God. I mean, it's such a tough question because they have been really good about doing it, right? Where you'd be like, and especially for PlayStation, where I'm more anchored in terms of putting out like Ghost of Tsushima, right? Or, going through and doing now remasters of Uncharted and things like that. And I was even looking at, what about like something stupid like the Avengers? Well, they put out a PS5. Or, you go down the list of people who are already going and double dipping. I went for a stupid one that'll never happen because development ceased on it, and there's the lawsuit that would happen. And then I think the companies that are not even on good terms anymore, the publisher and the developer. But I'd put out Friday the 13th.
Yes,
I adored Friday the 13th. You kidding me? Come on. Published by Gun, developed by Elphonic. Like, to see that game is janky as hell.
Oh,
it had so many
glitching
problems.
Through the ground, just falling into your death into void.
Dude, you want to talk about a game that they were starting that as just like a knockoff Friday the 13th. Then they got the license. Then it blew up. People actually cared about it. They tried to get servers spun. I mean, like it was like the weight of their own success. Like, that'd be a fun one to see with 0 to no load times and all these other things happening on it. And if you could get it going, because I adored playing that game for as goofy and broken as it was. But like I said, I love a good goofy horror movie. So running around and feeling like Jason was great.
That game was such a special moment. And like you said, I was following the development early, and it was not a Friday the 13th game to start. It looked like it. It looked like a straight knockoff. And I remember seeing it, and I don't remember what the original title was. But I remember
it was like Sleep or Camp. It was something with a camping. Hold on, I'll find out.
Yeah, and it was one of those games where I was so stoked when it was announced that they got the license for it, because that's what we all associated with it anyway. Anyone who's a horror fan looked at that and said, "This is the Friday the 13th game," and then they got it. And
yeah.
Despite its jank, despite all the bugs and server issues, that experience being in game chat, using proximity chat, and having Jason like on the mic harassing you while he's stalking you. Oh.
And then when you're like, you just hear the music change when he's like, he's close, he's around. Where do you see him? I don't hear him. Looks like it was, went to work on a game titled Slasher Volume 1 Summer Camp is what it was before it was the full blown Friday the 13th.
Really rolled off the tongue there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That would have been a huge success. Huge success.
Okay, so yeah, on board with you on that one, 100%.
Good. I'm glad.
Let's
That means
go.
a lot. That
Friday
means
the
a lot.
13th. Let's do it. Quick super chat before we move on to our next topic here. Nick W asks, "Hi Miles and Greg, what big AAA game are you guys looking forward to playing this year?" Nick, we're going to get to that. Don't worry.
Oh, good. Okay.
We got a section dedicated to that. So hold on. We'll circle back to that. But first, we got to talk about Xbox in Japan, because Xbox has celebrated 20 years in the Japanese market. Unfortunately, that milestone...
Still waiting on a success, though. Still waiting for a big deal over there.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, that milestone came with some metrics and gave us a real hard look at Xbox over the course of the last 20 years. And in 20 years, they've sold less than 2.5 million units in Japan, which it's not ideal. It's really not ideal.
That's not, those aren't the numbers you want if you have the choice, yeah.
So I'm gonna give everyone a breakdown of exactly what it looks like, and we can talk about the shocking trend that we see here. So OG Xbox came out of the gate, 500,000 units sold. Xbox 360, huge jump to 1.6 million units sold. And here's where things take a dark turn, Greg. Real dark turn. Xbox One, 114,000 units in Japan.
Oof, there it is.
Just huge nosedive. And then Xbox Series X and S already surpassing the Xbox One sales at 142,000 units. So it's interesting to look at those figures and get perspective, because I don't think people really give Xbox enough credit for giving Japan a fair shake out of the jump. The original Xbox and Xbox 360 had a ton of really cool Japanese exclusives. And if you look at sales figures, games like Dead or Alive 3, Blue Dragon, as much as they didn't set the world on fire here, they were some of the best-selling games in Japan. And then, as we've seen here, into tail end of the Xbox 360 generation into Xbox One, next to no Japanese support, next to no Japanese exclusives, and they paid the price in a huge way.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions for you, Greg.
Okay.
Why do you think Xbox has historically struggled, and how do you think they can improve this situation? Is there a way that Microsoft and Xbox can be successful in Japan?
Well, it's interesting you say historically struggled, right? Because yes, obviously OG Xbox coming out, the Japan market is so interesting. And I know this not by any stretch of the imagination as an expert, but as covering PlayStation for as long as I have, right? And how the Japanese market consumes handheld games, how they were ahead of the curve on mobile games and handheld to that device, and not to mention it'd be just a different market. And then also loyalties to things like that. And so I remember reading and watching so much stuff, retrospectives about the OG Xbox and them trying to put it out there, and how they knew that was going to be a hard sell to break into the Japanese market, to come out there and have this Western device that was going to try to come in there and compete with PlayStation and Nintendo, right? Which are obviously at the time, now PlayStation is technically an American company, right, for where they are, but I think we still assume them to be pretty Japanese in terms of gaming. So you see, as you look at the numbers, right, you're talking about over 500,000 for Xbox, and then Xbox 360, 1.6 million, that jump, right? But then, you're saying, Xbox One, the just crash and burn of 114, right?
Ow.
And the reason being, of course, is that it's the same reason PlayStation ran away with the United States, is that PlayStation had answered the call of what people wanted. They learned their lessons from the PlayStation 3, where they did get their doors blown off to begin with by the Xbox 360. And they came out and they said, listen, if you're a developer, this is a system that's easy to make games for. If you are a gamer, this is a machine built to play games. It's for games. This is all this device is. It's about games. And they had demos, and they had exclusives, and they had support from indie developers, and they were all over it. Whereas, of course, you compare it to Xbox One, and Xbox One came out in their initial marketing with a lot of future ideas, right, of the always online thing and how you'd be able to share your games and stuff, but the drawbacks of it, and wanting to put a Kinect in every box, which raised the price, wanting to make it the center of your entertainment experience, Xbox On. And I remember that one where it was a Call of Duty TV, Call of Duty TV, and it was just it was a marketing thing that didn't work in the United States, and it didn't work in Japan. And so, again, you give PlayStation that foothold for the PlayStation 4, and that's how they were able to run away with that generation. And so even now, it's this crazy thing that no matter how much we sit here and talk about what a great deal Game Pass is, people still want the PlayStation 5. That's this, they still want the PlayStation 5. They still got to get the PlayStation 5. And so it's crazy. And, where we are right now in 2022 in terms of hardware, in terms of marketing and forecasting, right, of what Xbox wants to be. I think Phil Spencer's and Xbox's message is so smart of that it's really not about the consoles for them anymore. It is about Xbox Game Pass. It is about getting you into the Xbox ecosystem, and it is about putting their games wherever you're going to be. And that is both a awesome message for here in the present and such a Trojan horse for the future, where you're asking, could they improve their station in Japan? And of course they could. I think a big part, and it still remains this, and I know obviously COVID has influenced and changed the world in a lot of different ways, but Japan still is a commuter culture. Tokyo still is a commuter city. And so I get really interested when we're not there yet, but we will be there, where we will have Wi-Fi subscriptions that are with us everywhere and are as good as the internet is right now. And this is eventually going to domino effect, right? Technology goes and goes and goes and changes. And so while right now you look at Xbox Game Pass and you look at streaming on xCloud and you go, oh, that's really neat, but I drop a frame here, it's a little sluggish. Oh, I'm too far from the router, it sucks or whatever. What about when they figure that out? Like, clearly Xbox is committed to that. What about when the internet does change? What about when it does get there? And what about when it does, okay, cool, you have Xbox Game Pass and you can stream it on mobile Wi-Fi or whatever your Wi-Fi subscription is while you're out and play stuff on your phone there. Does that change how Xbox is looked at in Japan? Does it change if they have, a great slew of Japanese games on there and they're making those partnerships and they're bringing that stuff over day and day? Like, there's a lot of what ifs in that entire conversation that are long, I'm talking about what ifs for Xbox, what ifs for PlayStation, what ifs for mobile carriers, what if for satellites and Wi-Fi. But that's the kind of seismic shifts you need, right? In terms of Xbox being able to turn this around.
Yeah, and Xbox is working to lay that foundation. Obviously, as you touch on, xCloud right now is not for everyone. As great as it is and as many improvements as they've made, there's still latency, there's still performance issues for a lot of people. You really need to have 5G, dual band, gigabit down internet to have a consistent, reliable experience for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone has that. And so xCloud is a solution for some people, but not a solution for everyone. So yeah. I'm glad you touched on the commuter culture here, Greg, because that segues beautifully into the next question I want to ask you here.
Ooh.
Could Xbox fix its Japan problem by rolling out a dedicated Xbox handheld console?
No, I feel like that's such a we're looking back. That's and that's not an insult to the question or you. It's just how I think we would have thought before streaming really became this move people are making on. And I think obviously there's a bunch of different initiatives we can point to from every different video game publisher and developer doing stuff, but mainly publishers down the line of things that they commit to and then back off and don't do it. Like streaming's here to stay. And I think streaming is a big part of Xbox's portfolio for what they're doing. And although it might never go huge like they want it to, I don't see them abandoning it anytime soon. And so you talk a lot about, at least we do, of getting like a Fire Stick that you can plug into your TV and have Xbox that way, right? And you just sync your controller to it that way. I still think the power of what Xbox wants the streams to be, what they want Game Pass and xCloud to be, is the ability to say, oh, you're interested in this? Bust out your phone right now for the 1 month trial. It's $1 and you can go. Oh, but I don't have a controller. It's all touchscreen. We have the touch. Oh my gosh. Well, I do have this old controller. That'll work. Buy a clip. Don't buy a clip. What? That's so much more enticing, I think, than, hey, we've made the Xbox Mini and this is how it's going to roll and go. I think that would sell to us. I think it would sell to a lot of people. But I also think that if you're super into mobile gaming, like, phones get closer and closer to having that experience every time. Like, the Switch is something special because Nintendo committed to it and said, hey, this is our one device. This is going to be both your thing you have on your screen and what you want in your pocket.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation that's kind of resurged because of the Steam Deck dropping and people looking at a premium kind of dedicated handheld. But I think you talking about Xbox looking to the future with xCloud is probably where their focus is, because all they need to do is get xCloud good enough for everyone. When we compare Netflix to a native 4K Blu-ray, it's not as good. The quality's not as great. You see artifacting, but
sure,
people like me, I don't care. If I can just,
right,
I don't care.
exactly.
I can just open it up and play a movie in a couple seconds. Like,
Tim Geddes from Kind of Funny thinks I'm crazy, right? Because, like, yes, I'm the good enough guy. You know, I have this amazing TV, this 83-inch TV down here. I have this sound bar, and yeah, I'll just stream everything to it. And he's like, "Oh, but buy the 4K and do this and
no,
calibrate that." And
no,
I'm like, "Dude, I
no.
got a life to live here. You know, I got platinum trophies to get on ZJ the Ball. I can't be sitting here worrying about balancing my color profile or do all this different stuff." And it's the same thing, you know, when we went to GDC in 2015, 16, when we were talking about PlayStation VR and VR in general, right? When it was Oculus, PlayStation, HTC Vive, right? And having Lauren Lanning, who, of course, is the developer of Oddworld, on. And we asked everybody, who do you think's going to do this place? Who's going to win in the VR race? And everybody had different answers. But Lauren was like, oh, it's going to be PlayStation. We're like, really? Like, it wasn't the one people were saying, like, really? But, like, you know, it's going to have a lower res. But it's there. It's good enough. Like, you have the device already. How many PlayStation 4s have been sold? Like, you add this thing on and you're good. And it's marketing to the hardcore gamer, just like the PlayStation 4 was. Like, you're not trying to go wide and mainstream like all those other headsets were at the start. They were very smart about, hey, we want you. We want this very hardcore person to come buy this.
And as we see with the Switch, people are willing to give up a lot of performance for convenience.
100%.
And
Yeah,
so
100%.
that is going to be the deciding factor, I think, in winning over more markets, is having something that is super convenient and works well. And if Xbox continues to improve their cloud service and it gets to that point, like you said, yeah, you don't need to buy it. Nobody, the reality is the average person isn't going to pay $300 to $500 for any device at all, ever.
And that's the thing of, like, you know, we talk about this all the time right now. Me and Gary would have just had a conversation on Games Daily about it, as we often do. But it's you know, a broken record. But if you had a friend who was getting into gaming right now, what would you tell them to buy? You'd say, oh, well, you haven't played games in forever. Oh, well, then get Xbox and get Game Pass. It's Netflix for games. You have hundreds of games to choose from. There's so many great, amazing things you never played that you didn't even know they're there. Go grab that for sure. And it's that same thing of, like, oh, you just want to play some games? Why not just get, you know, Game Pass Ultimate right now? Play it on your PC. You have a PC, right? Of course you do. Open a browser window and play all these amazing games right there, and, like, try it out and play it that way.
Yeah. Again, I have a lot of friends who have kind of fallen out of gaming, and with, you know, COVID and that sort of stuff, have had this resurgence because it's easier and cheaper. And that's the biggest selling point. And that's a thing a lot of people, I think, kind of underestimate, is they're, as much as, you know, I love console gaming, as much as I love PC gaming, because of the experience, because of the performance, some people just don't care. A lot of people just don't care. It really comes down to how much they're going to have to pay. Oh, $60 for a game? I'm out. I'm good.
Yeah.
So
and that's the democratization of it, right? Of putting these games out and having a attractive price point on it. Yeah. And that's, you know, why Apple was chasing everything with Apple Arcade. It's why, you know, you look at Netflix and what they're starting to spin up their games and what they're going to do. Like, people like to play games. You know, you always see that, oh, like 90% of people are gamers, but they don't call themselves gamers. And it's like, it's always such a weird, like, all right, we get it kind of thing. But it's also true. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember when my mom wanted a Wii. Like, that was I was like, what? Like, what?
Mom, you're a gamer now?
You want the console that I have? And that led to her buying a DS. I was like, oh my gosh, without talking to me. I just came home one day from whatever, a school or Columbia, I forget. But she had a DS, and I was like, what the hell? Like, who are you? You know what I mean? But it is that gateway. And so it is cool. Give them a taste of xCloud on your phone, or other PC, and then have them understand that, man, this is fun, but I'd love to play it on the TV and have, oh, I can get the console. Oh, I can get the S. Oh, I can get the X. Like, there's such an easy way to dominate or to upsell people on this.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're seeing the Series S in Japan do a lot better than the Series X, because the price tag's lower. They can pay $300 and then they can just get Game Pass and they are set. And I will say Xbox has done a really good job leaning into Japanese products for Game Pass where they can. Obviously, there's certain titles are skipping Xbox, and that's a concern. But getting stuff like Dragon Quest, getting stuff like Yakuza, franchises that, again, aren't necessarily juggernauts in the US, but Dragon Quest is one of the biggest franchises in Japan. Like, they'd have like holidays for that. It's a huge deal. So Xbox is making some moves, and it will be interesting to see where that goes. I know we talked a little bit about a potential Xbox handheld, but I got to ask you, as the world's #1 PS Vita advocate, Would you
My
want
monitors are pressing them down. I got them.
would you want PlayStation to dip their toes back into that pool, or is it dead? Has the ship sailed? Do we need to let the Vita rest in peace? Or
well, that's a tough question, because are you asking me as just Greg Miller, the fan, or as somebody who wants to see Sony like be successful? I want to see Xbox be successful too, but like my head is of course like, no, of course not. Don't do that. If they were gonna do that, like the killer way to do it would be impossible, but it would be the Switch method, right? Of like, we have whatever we're calling it. We're calling it the PS5 Junior, and it is the PlayStation 5 for all intents and purposes, and obviously low resolution, this, that, and the other. But it's your games that you already own. Transfer the saves back and forth, play on the go, do all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. Again, even me saying that is, and I don't think at all PlayStation's as proactive and on top of it as Xbox has been. And granted, maybe just not proactive on the messaging of it and the conversation of it. But I think even with remote play and PlayStation Now and all that, like PlayStation clearly wants you to be streaming their games as well. And I think that Xbox is very bullish and very talkative about it, and Phil mentions it all the time, and I think they're doing more with it. But PlayStation does have that technology. They are working on it. We're soon going to find out, knock on wood, what this PlayStation Spartacus business is and what that does and applies to this and how it goes. But again, I think even for me, yes, Greg Miller would love a Vita 2. I would love another PlayStation handheld, but I don't think that's the smart business move. And in the same breath, like if you ask me, do I want a Vita 2 or do I want the Play Anywhere phone app that they're working on or doing, right, for PlayStation overall to work just flawlessly? Well, clearly I don't want the phone app, right? Like I've had it both ways with remote play on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, where I've had it where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe how good I'm playing Concrete Genie on an iPad in a hotel room with the DualShock 4. I can't believe how well this is running and how good this is, right? And then I've had the complete opposite in my living room, like upstairs from the PlayStation of like, this is unplayable garbage. So like, they're working on it and they're getting there. I just want it to be perfect. I want it to be that unified experience. And if they could get it to be that on the phone, whatever way, then that's the one I'd want.
I think that is the main problem. Is I'm right there with you. I've had those experiences where I'm connected and I'm playing, and I'm playing Sea of Thieves, and it feels so close to being native, so close to native. And then the next day I play it, and it's my latency is like 200, and I
doing
cannot
like the turn thing, like,
and it's just and I'm like, what happened?
Even accept the quest. Yeah, I've been there.
What happened to the dream? We're so close to that dream, and I agree. I think once that tech is there for the people who have good internet, it's going to completely eliminate the conversations for the dedicated handheld. Again, for sure. I'm in the same camp. I want a dedicated Xbox handheld for me, not because I care about Xbox's financial endeavors. I really, at the end of the day, I want them to be successful, obviously. But if they have to lose some money to make me an Xbox handheld, then so be it. But I understand that in the big picture of things, it's probably not the best investment overall.
It was perfect for a while. The PlayStation Vita was there. You just didn't support it. None of you wanted to come to Vita Island. That's on you. All right.
Yeah, we had our chance. You
blew it.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Where were you? You're all talking about digital future. Where were you for the PSP Go? Where were you for the PSP Go? All right. Was it that hard? It wasn't. You just didn't want to buy it. You didn't want to do it.
PlayStation, too innovative. That's the problem.
That was their problem. Much like Sega, too innovative.
Too ahead. Yeah.
They were too ahead of the times.
Oh, God. Okay. Before we move into our last big topic of the show, going to give a quick shout out to all the amazing people tuning in live. If you are digging it, hit the like button, share it out. If you are listening on podcast services, leave a review, all that great stuff. I see Jeff Grubb in the chat.
Hate him.
I see Paris Lily in the chat.
Hate him.
Who else is here? I saw somebody else.
I thought you had a good community. I didn't realize you had a bunch of dirt bags floating around here.
No, but huge shout out to everyone tuning in. Really appreciate it. Iron Lords dropping a super chat, says, great to listen to some solid games discussion with the amazing host, Lord Miles Dompier, and the legend, Lord Greg Miller.
Lord
Cognito. What an absolute legend. Okay. Greg, as we know, 2022, kind of stupid for video games.
Are you kidding me?
One of the most ridiculously packed years, I think, ever. I don't think it's an exaggeration to look at what has shipped, what is going to ship, what could potentially ship, and say that 2022 is out of control.
Yeah, 100%.
We've gotten Horizon. We've gotten Elden Ring. We've got Pokemon Legends Arceus. outside of that,
And you're getting more Pokemon.
we're getting another one.
Pokemon.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We are getting Kirby and the Forgotten Land. We are getting God of War Ragnarok. We're potentially getting Breath of the Wild 2, Starfield, Redfall. Gran Turismo just came out. It's overwhelming. It's out of control. So what I want to know is, outside of what's already shipped, what are the big games Greg Miller's most excited about right now?
Oh my gosh.
On the horizon, looking at that plate.
Sure. Man. Well, I always think so immediate, right? Like, I'm fascinated to see if they pull together WWE 2K22 this year after like the colossal disaster it was before. Tunic's finally coming out, they say. I'll believe it when I see it, but I can't. I remember seeing Tunic at whatever PAX it was forever ago.
Was that 2015 that was revealed?
I want to say it was, right? It seems crazy to say, but I feel like it's been that long. But if you want to look like to the big games, right? Especially when we're talking about Elden Ring, Horizon, Pokemon Game of the Year contenders, like fascinated to see if Starfield sticks the landing and what that is. And by sixth landing, because we know nothing about it, I mean, will it come out this year like they say it's going to? Starfield, I can't wait to see what that's all about and what that looks like. You know, I do like a good Bethesda open world. And so to have a brand new Bethesda open world, I'm very interested in. Of course, like I said at the top of this, right, God of War 2018, my favorite game of all time at the moment, like God of War Ragnarok, right? Again, will it come out this year? But if it does, if it's actually happening, I can't wait to know more about it. I would put out Gotham Knights. I'm a big DC dork, right? Yeah, you can tell. And so like, you know, a multiplayer a Batman game with the multiple characters and all this stuff. That sounds awesome. I can't wait to do that. I back to the horror thing. I believe they've said it. I don't believe it fully because we haven't seen much about it. The Callisto Protocol, the spiritual successor to Dead Space in the PUBG universe from Glenn over there. I love Dead Space. Love Dead Space. So seeing what that would look like, I'm all about that. That Forspoken game, I'm putting that out there. Gary worked on it. In that, when Gary works on something, he won't talk about it. And I know the previews were middling, but it seems interesting of like get sucked into a fantasy world from our world kind of thing. Granted, Pokemon kind of did it too, I guess. But that's more of a I don't know about it. The other ones I'm excited for.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you were mentioning, I had completely forgotten about. Callisto Protocol. Again, I also love Dead Space. Super stoked for that.
You got taste, is what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. I'm weirded out that it's in the PUBG universe, but I'm sure that won't really be brought up at all. But
yeah, exactly. It's gonna maybe they'll be like if you and I knew or cared about PUBG, there's probably some reference to whatever drop some guy did. But like outside of that, we're probably fine.
A frying pan hanging in the window somewhere as a little Easter egg. But yeah, Dead Space. I'm excited for that remake as well, but I'm excited for that team to do something because Visceral, RIP, they were done dirty. I gotta say, they put out nothing but bangers. I mean, you can say what you will about Battlefield Hardline. I don't think that was the right team for the job. But before that, even Dead Space 3, despite its weird shift in tone, I thought was a solid, well-produced, well-designed game. Co-op slapped. It was like Resident Evil 5. Not a good horror game, but a good co-op game. That's still important. Being a horror fan, Greg, are you looking at Evil Dead the game at all?
Yes and no. Yes, because of course, all right, cool. But like Evil Dead's never been my franchise. I love Bruce Campbell. So like whatever, like, but it's so I would say I'm right in that like, yeah, when it comes out, I'm gonna play it. I want to see what it's all about. But I'm not like, oh my God, I can't wait. I assume you are based on your reaction.
I'm one of the 5 people in the world who are really hyped for Evil Dead the game. But again, Evil Dead is my jam.
And it's that thing too where I feel like if they nail that, if that is fun, it doesn't matter because like Evil Dead is another franchise. You've heard about Evil Dead if you've never watched it, right? Like, so if the game is fun and you just want to jump in and Bruce Campbell's being cool in it, why would we care? I don't think you have to like. I don't think you have to be a huge Evil Dead fan to get into it if it's great.
Yeah, keep giving me multiplayer horror stuff. I'll play it. Right. What do we got? Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the horizon as well. I don't think that's this year, but
no, yeah. Where do you come down on the Dark Pictures anthologies? Because we're getting a new one of those, obviously.
I don't like to say it, but I haven't loved them. I didn't play the latest one, but I played the first 2, Man of Medan and Little Hope. I heard the latest one was the best, so I need to
House of Ashes. Yeah,
I need to take some time to play that, but underwhelmed overall.
Did you like Until Dawn a lot?
I did. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. Where Man of Medan I thought was a complete miss. Little Hope I enjoyed, but in that like, oh, this is like a B movie way. House of Ashes I really dug, and I was surprised that people didn't like it. I thought for sure it was their best. I think it's honestly better than Until Dawn because I think it's faster. Well, Until Dawn's great, but it goes on too long. Like these, I like the obviously Until Dawn was their breakout with these choose your own adventure horror games, so they don't know exactly what they're doing. They didn't expect. I think the fact that it would be a community game, you'd have an audience gathered around, is ridiculous as it sounds. It was still the infancy of Twitch. Like I don't think they understood where that was going to be. And so like House of Ashes, I think gives a compelling story with great performances that can be played in a long sitting, but a sitting. And then you could do it again the next night with your friends. Whereas like, no matter how you try Until Dawn, like you got to break. You're going to break on that one and like let people go home.
Yeah, that was one thing I did appreciate about Man of Medan and that whole series is that you could do the couch mode and you could sit there with the group and get through it in one setting. So it kind of had that cool interactive movie experience. But
for sure,
I'll have to go back to House of Ashes because the first two I was so burned by the first two that I didn't even care. Like even the positive reception of House of Ashes from people that I know and trust, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if
it's to that point where it's like, for me, they're just a fun, like Tales from the Crypt kind of thing, where it's like, you used to watch Tales from the Crypt, and you're like, maybe this will be a great episode, maybe it'll be a total stinker, but it's just fun to do and go through it. So even like Man of Medan, which I was super let down by, I'm glad it let me down because it lowered my expectations so much, where I was like, oh man, they're going to give these out. It's going to be just like Until Dawn. And then it wasn't Until Dawn at all. And you're like, okay, cool. But they have their little curator that comes up every time and I get stoked. I'm like, oh, it's this guy again. Right. What's the story we're going to hear? What are we doing this time?
The Tales from the Crypt comparison, so apt because you're absolutely right. I love Tales from the Crypt. I love Creepshow, but some of the episodes are a little stinky. Some are stinkier than others, and you take the good with the bad. And if they keep pumping them out, which it sounds like they're going to do, I think they'll, even the scales back in terms of more hits than misses.
For sure.
What about Kirby? I think Kirby right now is probably the game I'm looking at next is the only one on the horizon that's going to potentially take the throne from Elden Ring in terms of the...
you think Kirby's... Get out of here. What are you talking about? He sucks up a car. Big deal. What do we care?
I mean, dude, don't tell me that trailer did nothing for you.
The trailer looks cute, but it looks cute. I'm like, that's a cute game that I don't want to play, that I'm not going to play.
No.
I'm a Sega kid, so I have no affection for Nintendo properties as is. It's not like I'm just like, I see something, I'm like, oh, I'm all about that, with the exception of Mario and Zelda, but that came to me based on like World on SNES and then Ocarina of Time on N64. But I've never connected with Kirby.
Kirby's mostly have bad games. I love Kirby, but most Kirby games are bad. And Nintendo has not found a way to give Kirby the respect that it deserves.
Put some respect on the name.
Seriously. And so when I saw this trailer, I was like, are they doing it? Are they going to give Kirby a budget and give people a Kirby game that isn't miserable? Are they actually doing it in the year of our Lord 2022? Are we getting the Super Mario Odyssey treatment for Kirby? Because that's been the one franchise. We've seen the Mario glow up. We've seen the Zelda glow up. Kirby has had like 3 or 4 games on Switch. They talked about those. Nobody cares about those. So when I saw that trailer of the weird
like,
dark...
This is his time. This is Kirby's time.
Mouthful mode, baby. Let's go. The memes alone are going to skyrocket that. So it's going to be another Resident Evil Village, where even if the game isn't necessarily for everyone, those memes are going to carry it right to a nomination on the Game Awards. Mark my words, dude.
We'll see.
Are you a Pokemon guy at all? Do you care about more?
No, I over the years I've come closer to being a Pokemon guy, but I'm not a Pokemon guy. Like I liked Pokemon Go a lot. I played Let's Go, and then what was the one right before this one? Not Arceus, but the one before that.
Oh, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Well, not even that one. In 2019, before the World. Yes, I played that one all the way through with my wife. We played that on a trip to France, and it was amazing. But so I have Arceus. It's the same thing as Elden Ring. That I started, I put an hour and a half, and I was like, this is great, but I'm not on the review, so I'm moving off to something else. I do want to get back to Arceus, but again, with like, well, it's on to the next thing, the next thing. I do wonder if we're going to get all the way around to the next Pokemon is literally out next month, so why would I go to Arceus when I can just play the one in the future that's still open world?
That's 100% going to be it, because it's supposed to come out this holiday, and I'm like,
yeah, I
loved Arceus. It was great. I loved their transition to the open world. I put over 100 hours into it. And now I'm trying to like mentally prepare to do that again, because apparently this is going to be a full open world. Like Arceus was them dipping their toes in that water to see how it would translate. And this is apparently a seamless, quote unquote, open world Pokemon game, which Lord knows what that's going to look like. I will play it unquestionably, but I think I will have to mentally prepare for another 100 hours of Pokemon. It's too soon. It's too soon.
It is very soon. They are stacking the deck here on the Pokemon.
And then that's combined with Starfield, which is going to come out around the same time. And that's we are sitting on so many huge open world games, and it's getting to the point where now I do have to pick and choose what I'm even going to play. Horizon. I was excited. Horizon looked amazing. I was so ready to play it, and then I saw how everything was falling, and I'm like, I can't start Horizon because I won't finish Horizon before Elden Ring. And once Elden Ring hits, I'm dropping it like it's hot. And then I'll be playing Elden Ring into March. And then, oh wait, Kirby's in March. And now I'm like, am I ever going to go back to Horizon? Will I even have time?
This is the carousel, man. Like, it's dangerous. Once it gets moving and you jump on, like, it's impossible to go back.
And so, despite everything we know that's coming, do you have any predictions for Wildcard surprise reveals? Is somebody going to just, on top of this slate, say, you know what, we're doing it. We're dropping this.
So it has to be a big game?
No. Surprise Wildcard. It can be anything.
Well, what's your definition of surprise? Because what I would say is, where Ernie Hudson brought up this Ghostbusters game. The president of Ilphonic, we were just talking about Friday the 13th, said they were working on a Ghostbusters game. Is that this year? Do we get to be Ghostbusters this year? In the same way I have all the DC stuff behind me, I have all this Ghostbusters stuff behind me. I'll flip out. You know what I mean? Like I would love a new Ghostbusters game that isn't garbage.
So what was your stance?
Gotta be careful with the monkey paw. I gotta be careful with the monkey paw.
What was your stance on the official Ghostbusters the movie?
Oh, Ghostbusters, the video game from 2000 or whatever. Yeah. The video game. Yeah. From 2008, I want to say. That doesn't sound right, though. But maybe it was 2009. They just put out the remastered one. Doesn't matter. Yeah. I reviewed that for IGN at the time. I gave it an 8, and I stand by it. That was a great game, especially as a Ghostbusters fan. Like, did they play it too safe? And, like, it feels like you're playing Ghostbusters 1 or again. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very much the same thing. Like, I have, as a Ghostbusters super fan, I'm always very much when they go back to the Gozer well, like, all right, can we get away from that? I thought Afterlife did a good job of it in a canon way, but everything else but like, we were walking around busting ghosts. It was great. The multiplayer wasn't terrible for it. Like, I had fun with that at the time. The remaster I've turned on a few times and put in some nights with it, but I haven't gone through all the, go back and replatinum and stuff. But it was fun to just have a pack on and run around and do that and shoot stuff up. And it's been a long time since we had a Ghostbusters game, again, a good Ghostbusters game. There was Sanctum of Slime, which was bad. So if that's in the cards for real and it's going to be another one, like, I'm all for it.
So if sounds like Ilphonic's doing it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. So then you assume it's going to be like Friday the 13th and Predator, I would assume, where there's a ghost, a team of ghosts, a team of Ghostbusters. Like, that sounds hell yeah.
So what would that look? What would you want that to look like? You want it to be asymmetrical, or do you want this to be a full just co-op thing? With Ilphonic, I have to assume there's going to be some PvP element, but what would that be?
I assume it's going to be from its core PvP.
Yeah.
And so I would assume it's basically like Phasmophobia, right? But the other team rather than is ghosts. Like, I think it is. It's almost like Left 4 Dead. It's almost like Back 4 Blood, right? Where there's like the team of infected and the team of cleaners. Like, I would imagine it would be that, where you have a team of ghosts running around attacking things, haunting things, trying to take out the Ghostbusters, I guess, and then the Ghostbusters trying to trap them. How you make that fun, I don't know. I'm not that guy, but like I'm saying, that's what I would draw. That's what I imagine, especially if Ilphonic, is doing it like they said.
Yeah, exactly. Like the concept of playing a multiplayer Ghostbusters game. Yeah, I'm ready for it. I need to see it as well. Like Evil Dead, when they told me they were doing an asymmetrical horror Evil Dead game, I'm sold on all those buzzwords. You say that, I'm in, I'm ready. But what does that translate to in terms of the game?
Exactly.
We've seen little bits and pieces, and it could be good, could be a big dud. But yeah,
I'm gonna Google. I haven't seen much of. I know of it, but I haven't seen like stuff from it.
Oh, again. I'm a big Evil Dead fan, but I have to say, looking at the gameplay, looking at the fidelity of what this team's delivering, it looks legitimately way better than I ever would have imagined an Evil Dead game to look like. I played Evil Dead on PS1. I remember that on original Xbox, and those games were fine. Like, they were never like that great in the grand scheme of things. But seeing this one as a longtime Evil Dead fan, it warmed my soul that we might get a decent one.
I'm looking through. I of course clicked on the pre-order trailer. Not a one iota of gameplay. So now I'm on IGN's YouTube here. Gameplay reveal from Summer Game Fest, which I watched. I
was
watched
there.
all this.
It just it all blurs.
Okay, here we go. So here's my question, and again, I'm sorry, I'm such an Evil Dead novice. Okay, so yeah, I guess I was gonna say, are the other characters like people from the Evil Dead franchise? But I see the guy who's dressed as a knight, so I assume that yes, that's the guy from Army of Darkness. One of them, Army of Darkness. Right?
Ooh, and then all the original voice actors too.
Okay.
So yes,
and so it is just survival. Like there's a horde attacking a house.
One of the reasons they delayed the game, I guess, was to add a single-player component to it of some kind.
Okay.
I don't think it's a full-fledged campaign, but it seems
like... this looks a lot like Friday the 13th, right? You're running around with gas canisters and doing all this stuff. Okay, hold on now. Hold the phone.
Yeah, that's
hold the phone, everybody.
You said you love Friday the 13th, so that's why I'm asking about Evil Dead.
Are the enemies that are attacking you, are they human or are they AI?
So there's basically one demon dungeon master. So it's a combination of AI... so you get to choose like how you summon stuff, and then you can take control of demons as the Kandarian demon, basically. So it's 4v1. One person is like the evil dungeon master for this.
Gotcha. So. Okay. And is it just like Friday the 13th where the goal is to escape?
I think so. Yeah, I think you're collecting like the pages of the Necronomicon and destroying shrines. So yeah, if you like Friday the 13th,
play together?
Oh, dude, I'm pushing Evil Dead so hard, and no one cares. No one's with me on this.
I officially care.
Journey.
I officially care. I'm interested.
If I can convert one person per day, then you know what? We'll have.
Pretty soon you'll have a full team to play it.
We will have 60 people at launch, Greg. Let's go.
I'm in.
Okay, good. Okay. My work here's done. Let's shut it down. We got Greg on board for Evil Dead the game. I was so close to pre-ordering. Did you see the ridiculous collector's edition they did for this? It was like $200. Came with a Necronomicon.
How did you not do it?
I wanted to.
I got a Proton pack on the wall, man. If you're in the fandom, you just throw your money at this stuff.
I got some Evil Dead.
Don't worry about your life, your rent, your food. None of it matters.
I know. I have like Evil Dead vinyl and stuff on the wall. Like, I don't know. I regret it because it sold out instantly, and I regret it. But I told myself I didn't need to spend $200 on Evil Dead.
Man, now I'm looking at it. Yeah, okay, here it is. This Evil Dead Game Collector's Edition.
And Tom Savini
it's got a t-shirt.
Designed a custom Ash character skin,
just like he did for Friday the 13th.
Remember that? I remember that. Yeah, Tom Savini, the legend.
Legend.
The bondage Ash skin for Evil Dead the game.
Well, you have piqued my interest, sir.
Okay, good. My work here is done. All right, that's it. But okay, so that's really it. Honestly, it's been a slow news.
You're like, no, that really is the show. That's the end.
I think it doesn't really get better than that. So, Greg, thanks so much for taking some time out of your Friday.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I really appreciate you. I got to get to one super chat though before I let you go. That's absolute slander, by the way. Synodex says Evil Dead is trash. #facts.
Damn. He's gonna do you like that?
All right, dude. Fine. Whatever. Greg, one more time for all the amazing people tuning in. Where can they get a hold of you? Where can they spam me Evil Dead gifts now?
You can spam Evil Dead gifts to me at Twitter, twitter.com/@GameOverGreggy. Well, I guess that's not how Twitter works. It's @GameOverGreggy, twitter.com/GameOverGreggy. You used Twitter before. You can come find all the work I do over on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames or on your favorite podcast service. Search Kinda Funny Games.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for everyone tuning in. If you are watching live, we are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're watching after the fact, enjoy the audio versions. And that is going to do it for this week's episode. I will catch you all next week. Have a good one, everybody.